his only Son, so that everyone who believes in him might have eternal life. Alleluia, alleluia, alleluia.
The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke. At that time, Jesus came to Jericho and intended to pass through the town. Now a man there named Zacchaeus, who was a chief tax collector and also a wealthy man, was seeking to see who Jesus was. But he could not see him because of the crowd, for he was short in stature. So he ran ahead and climbed a sycamore tree in order to see Jesus, who was about to pass that way. When he reached the place, Jesus looked up and said, "Zacchaeus, come down quickly, for today I must stay at your house." And he came down quickly and received him with joy. When they all saw this, they began to grumble, saying, "He has gone to stay at the house of a sinner." But Zacchaeus stood there and said to the Lord, "Behold, half of my possessions, Lord, I shall give to the poor. And if I have extorted anything from anyone, I shall repay it 4 times over." And Jesus said to him, "Today, salvation has come to this house, because this man too is a descendant of Abraham. For the Son of Man has come to seek and to save what was lost." The Gospel of the Lord.
You hate nothing that you have made. In the late 1500s, in the city of Nuremberg in Germany, there lived a family, mother and father, and 18 children. 18. The father was a laborer, and money was short, obviously, with 20 mouths to feed, counting the parents. And things were challenging, but they had what they needed, and they had each other, and they were quite happy. 2 of the children, 2 sons, Albrecht and Albert, showed great capacity for art since they were very, very little. And even though this was, the family for generations had been laborers, they were very supportive, the parents, of Albert and Albrecht in their pursuit of art. When it came time for them to go off to school to study art, the parents knew there was no way they could afford to send both and have them both in school at the same time. So the 2 brothers made a pact, Albert and Albrecht, and they flipped a coin to see who would go to school and study first, and then the other would go into the mines and labor and work to pay for the studies of the one away. And when the one away finished his studies, he would come back, go into the mines, and the one who had been in the mines would then go away to study art. Well, Albert won the toss, and so he went away to study art, and Albrecht went into the mines to work. Immediately, his teachers noticed Albert's skills and talents. Even as a student, he was becoming well known and was selling his art, already making some small income for himself and for his family back home. And when he graduated, he came home. And the family, as best they could, had a feast for him, and they were all around the dinner table. And Albert was there. The father let him sit at the head of the table because he was the one being honored. And as the dinner was beginning, he asked everyone to stand up, and he spoke a few words, and he said, "Raise your glasses now for a toast to Albrecht, who made it possible for me to go to school. And now, my brother," he said to him, "it is your turn. I will go in the mines to pay for your schooling." And Albrecht said, "No, brother, it is too late for me. After years of working in the mines, look at my hands. I've had many broken bones and strains. I have arthritis now. I can't even grip the wine glass to return your toast. There's no way I could hold a brush or any other instrument to go into art. But it's all right. You have followed your dream and accomplished it, and I am happy for you and happy that I was able to help. You continue to do your art. I will stay and continue working in the mines." Well, Albert Dürer went on to be a very famous artist, but probably the piece that he's most familiar for is a piece that you don't see too often anymore. But when I was growing up, every house had like a print of it. The Praying Hands. The Praying Hands. And it's a sketch. I don't know if it was charcoal or what. It's just a sketch of hands in prayer. And when you look at the hands, they're not like model hands. They're a little bit older. They're wrinkled. They're a little broken looking. But they're raised in prayer. Albert Dürer's The Praying Hands, his brother Albrecht's hands. For he used his brother Albrecht as the model for that sketch. So Albrecht never got to become a famous artist. But hundreds of years later, we know his hands put together in prayer. His hands broken, arthritic, weak. His hands that sacrificed for love of his brother and his brother's dreams, his own dreams. God hates nothing that he has created. In our world today, egotism is a big deal. I mean, since modern philosophy, we have turned to ourselves, and humanity is the center of the universe, not God. And that puffing ourselves up is an issue, is a problem. But also in that is that because we have so turned on ourselves, our culture has forgotten God. And if we start to look at ourselves too closely without God, we get in trouble real fast. And we can put ourselves down real fast. We should never look at ourselves except in the light of God's love and mercy, because we will see I'm not good enough. No matter what I do, it's never good enough. In our society that has forgotten God, many look at God as harsh and judgmental, and that's why they want nothing to do with religion. I'm spiritual, I'm not religious. Sometimes we ourselves can get caught up in that and think there's no way God could forgive me. There's no way God could love me. And yet our first reading says to us, God hates nothing he has created. He deals patiently with sinners, calling them little by little, gently, to the truth of themselves that he sees as beautiful. And without the light of his love, we see as something to be tossed aside. We can do that to ourselves in our culture today. We can do it to others. The whole sense of cancel culture. If you do something and I don't like it, you don't exist anymore. It all flows out of that same movement of looking at ourselves and other people without the light of God's love and mercy. We see it in the gospel today. Zacchaeus was curious about Jesus. Zacchaeus was despised by his own people. He was a tax collector, a sinner. They wanted nothing to do with him. But he was curious about Jesus. So curious that when he got there and the crowd was big, he couldn't see because he was short. So he climbed a tree so he could see over the crowd and look at Jesus. And not only did he get to see Jesus, Jesus called him by name, called him down from that tree and said, I'm going to dine with you and your family in your home today. So not only did he get to see Jesus, he received Jesus into his home, into his heart. This man hanging from a tree that everybody else would have thrown aside as nothing. God hates nothing that he has created. When we look at ourselves, yes, there's sinfulness, there's brokenness, but in the hands of the heavenly artist, God can make something beautiful from that which is broken. He can make something so beautiful it lasts for the ages, as Albert did with his brother Albrecht's hands. He took something broken, something that others would just give up on, and made them something so beautiful. Hundreds of years later, we still know Albrecht's hands. So let us reflect on that for a moment today and bring it to prayer. Bring it to the altar where Jesus Christ dies on the cross for us, gives himself to us in the Eucharist. He is broken on the cross. He is broken in the Eucharist, and yet his brokenness is the source of our redemption, of our righteousness, of our freedom, of our healing. God has created us. He does not hate anything that he has created. Let us look upon ourselves in that light. Let us look upon our brothers and sisters, even those who seem easily tossed aside. God hates nothing that he has created. We may be broken. We may be beaten down. We may be arthritic. But in the hands of the heavenly artist, we become something so beautiful, beautiful for the ages.